Dorian was the kind of man you'd swear was built out of rebar and stubbornness. Spent near 20 years working rigs, first out in the Gulf, then anywhere a drill cut into the sky or sea. He had that oil rigger's tan, wind-baked skin, eyes like sun on steel, and forearms corded from years of hauling pipe in the cold and heat. Never took a sick day in his life. It started small. One morning he woke up with a little hitch in his step, like his boot sole had gone soft on one side. He laughed it off and blamed a long shift. By the next week, that limp had a mind of its own, dragging his foot just enough to make him curse. He said his back felt tight, like something was winding up inside him, slow and steady. Folks on the crew noticed he'd stand funny sometimes, spine bent a hair too far, shoulders pulled back like he's trying to hold something in. At first, he could shake it off, stretch it out, keep working. But then came the nights where he couldn't sleep. His legs twitched on their own, jolting him from his sleep while his back would tense so hard it would rise him up like the dead in old movies. And 2 months in, Dorian wasn't Dorian anymore. His hands would lock around a coffee mug so tight he'd near crack the handle. And when he walked, it was like watching cables tighten. Every step stiff, muscles bunching under his skin. The last morning, the sun wasn't up yet when he left his bunkhouse. No shirt, just a pair of dirt-smudged white briefs, skin glistening with cold sweat. He stepped out into the field behind the rig like he was following something none of us could see. And they found him, at first light, standing in the middle of the patch of grass. His whole body had drawn in on itself, spine arched, neck twisted, jaw locked so tight it cracked a molar. Arms and legs were coiled around each other in a way that looked near impossible. Every muscle pulled so hard you could see the tremble frozen in him. Eyes wide open, fixed on something far beyond the horizon. His eyes looked like a man caught mid-struggle with something that had finally pulled him all the way around. And whatever it was, it left him standing there, a twisted statue of strain and silence. Out on the rigs, it don't take much for a man to become a statistic. A busted cable, slip in the rain, one bad second and you're just another story folks try not to tell. But there's a story they can't help but telling. And it ain't about a fall or fire or blood. It's about the quiet kind of dying, where a man's body starts bending into shapes you can't explain. Like someone's twisting what's inside till they just can't twist no more. First time you see it, you think they're just stiff from the cold, jaw set tight, shoulders hunched. But then days pass, and the bending becomes sharper, like someone's been turning him by a few degrees when no one's looking. And the last time you see him, and everyone's different. One man's spine wound so tight his chin near touched his back. Another with arms locked straight behind him, like he was reaching for something. And their eyes stay open, but they ain't seeing you. They're long gone. The name for it's whispered in the wind between the rigs. It's Coilman syndrome. It's a truth nobody wants to meet face to face. And once you've laid eyes on a Coilman, you carry him with you. In the way you flinch when your back twinges. In the way you notice your own hands shaking. In any case, you'll wish you'll never feel your body starting to turn. Every twitch brings you back to one thought. Am I next? Folks always figured oil rigs were dangerous for the obvious reasons. Fires, falls, busted pipes. Nobody ever thought the real killer might be something you couldn't see, smell, or wash off. From the Gulf to the shale fields in Pennsylvania, from steel-legged ocean platforms to inland pump jacks in the middle of nowhere, men started feeling it, like bad news drifting on a slow wind. It don't care where the oil comes from, only that it's been locked away deep in the rock for a long, long time. See, every barrel's got its own fingerprint. Minerals, gases, things so small they'd slip right through your gloves and seep into your pores. And on some rigs, in some runs, there's something else mixed in. It ain't alive, but it ain't dead neither. Just hiding in that black shine, riding up from the dark underbelly of the world. And maybe it's in the vapor off a fresh strike, breathing in what the heat coming up from the borehole drug with it. Maybe it's in the spray when the pressure line splits in your face. And maybe it just rides the sweat and grime on your skin till it finds a way inside. However it gets in, it starts quiet. Not even a trickle in the throat or cramp in the gut. And by the time a man notices, he's already carrying it. And like all the worst things, it don't rush. Whatever's behind Coilman syndrome, it ain't from up here. Down where the oil sleeps, miles beneath the shale, sandstone, and salt domes, the rock holds pockets of heat, pressure, and chemical stew that haven't seen daylight since before there was grass on land. That's where this thing waits. And it ain't a parasite in the way most folks think. No cells, no shell, no little legs to scuttle on. It's a misfolded scrap of protein, twisted wrong, but twisted just right to make the proteins in your body twist wrong too. And like a bad knot in a rope, once it's there, it pulls everything tighter. These prions are bound up in crude oil that's been sealed away for millions of years. In that time, the oil's picked up trace metals, pressure-altered compounds, and heat-shifted structures that kept the prions stable, dormant, but still able to spark off cascade once they get in warm-blooded hosts. Ocean rigs, inland wells, deep shale fractures, it don't matter. If the deposit's old enough, hot enough, and under the right pressure, the oil can carry it. And once that oil's disturbed, even the smallest vapor or misted droplet can deliver it. It don't survive long in open air though. But on the skin, in the lungs, or through a cut, that's more than enough time for it to take hold. Thing is, the rigs that strike infected oil tend to strike it more than once. Same geological seam, same deep pocket, same ancient trap. So when a man starts twisting and locking in a camp, folks start thinking it's a curse on that patch of ground. But it ain't curses. It's just geology giving up something it ain't never meant for us to touch. Coilman syndrome is driven by Gyronova mortifex, a heat-stable prion folded in a way that don't occur in surface life. You can't see it with any scope that uses light, and it don't show up like bacteria or viruses in a culture. It's just a protein, bent wrong in a way that makes every copy of that same protein in your body bend wrong too. It targets structural and motor proteins in muscle and nerve tissue, the ones that keep your muscle moving smooth and your posture steady. Once it slips into the nervous system, it spreads along motor pathways like wildfire on dry grass. Every muscle it touches gets a little more rigid, a little less obedient, until the body's pulling against itself from 100 different angles. The progression's got its own twisted rhythm. First the prion works slow, riding the spinal cord and nerve roots. Then once it hits critical load, it turns fast, each misfolded strand convincing 1,000 more to fold wrong. Like a whole barn full of green wood warping in a single night. And that's when the lock starts. The final posture, what folks call the coil. It ain't the same from man to man. One might be arched back so far his heels and skull are all that touch the ground. Another might be wound forward, chin buried in his chest, legs drawn up like he's trying to fold himself in half. But once it sets, it's total. Every muscle fiber's rigid. You can lean a crowbar against them, and they wouldn't budge. It don't kill by stopping the heart or lungs outright. It strangles a man from the inside. The diaphragm can't pull air. The ribs can't lift. And even if you could cut them loose, the damage to the nerves is done. First it's just a flicker. A finger jerking on its own, or a foot dragging like your boot sole's worn thin. It feels harmless. It feels familiar. We all twitch sometimes. But that's the trick of it. Coilman hides inside of what you already know. And days later, the cramps set in. Small knots in the arms and calves at first. The kind you stretch out and rub down, and you blame on long hours of work. But these cramps don't quit. They sit deep, burning low, holding the muscle long after you tell it to let go. And nights get worse. Men wake up with their legs kicking hard enough to rattle the bunk frame, or their back yanking them upright like a puppet pulled on its strings. And by morning, They're sore and they're quiet, but they still lace up their boots and they go to work. Weeks in, you can spot it plain. Tools slip because the hands don't open when they're told. A man's walk goes stiff, measured like every step is borrowed. His shoulders ride high, chest drawn tight like he's bracing against a blow that never comes. And his eyes start staring too long at nothing. Jaws twitching like he's chewing through nerves instead of food. And then one day, it tips. No warning. The whole body seizes like cable pulled to snap. Arms twist in or stretch out wide. Spine bows, ribs clamp shut. Diaphragm locks like iron. The man's still awake for it. He can feel every pull, every grind of bone and tendon. But he can't draw in breath to scream. Heart kicks hard against his chest that won't move, pound until it's out of road. And that's how it kills. Strapping its own body against you. Turning breathing into something you can't do no more. And death don't bring release. When the light leaves, the lock stays. However Coilman's twisted you in that last second, folded back like a bowstring, folded double arms forever reaching for nothing, that's how you stay. Hard, unmovable, a shape carved out of strain. And that's the part folks can't shake. Once you've seen a Coilman, every twitch in your own hand, every knot in your calf at night, comes with a thought you can't push away. Garanova don't spread like most things. It ain't no sneezing, no coughing, no passing it through the air. It rides on the work, raw crude, grease grit, and the tools men share without thinking. A fleck of rust or oil spray, near invisible, can hold enough prions to doom a man. And once it's in your system, there ain't no stopping it. It'll laugh off heat, pressure, disinfectants, even the kind of steam that peels paint won't break it down. And that's why oil rig environments make such a perfect home. Machinery throws tiny droplets into the air. Droplets you can't see but can carry microscopic prions that never die. And once inside, Garanova crosses into the peripheral nerves, riding them upstream towards the spinal cord. It binds the normal motor proteins and forces them to twist wrong. A single bad fold making the next copy wrong, and the next, until the whole nerve is riddled with them. From there, the brain's motor sensors start misfiring, muscles go from twitchy to stubborn. A man might lose his grip, find his legs dragging, or feel his back draw tight for no reason. But once that chain reaction tips over, it ain't gradual no more. Within days, the body's fighting itself like a rig cable spooled too tight. Tendons and muscle fibers hold that tension without release, turning the man into a locked shape, struggling for breath, unable to move, speak, or beg for air. And the cruelest part? The brain stays lit near the end. They know. They feel every pull, and they feel every stretch, every rib grinding against cartilage, right up until the chest can't rise no more. Ain't nothing in the world that's gonna unbend a man once he's all twisted up. Once that lock sets in, they stay just how they are, like poured bronze till someone moves them. And moving them ain't without risk. Whether it's a pump jack in a cow pasture or a rig floating in the Gulf, the rules are the same. You don't haul that body back to camp. You seal it where it stands. Heavy tarp, oilskin wrap, chain it down inside a steel box, then bury it deep in salt, or drop it where the groundwater won't ever reach it. And work stops right then. Every hand who is within spitting distance of the victim's sweat or breath gets locked down for 3 weeks. Meals brought in, water hauled from the outside. Ain't no exceptions. Not for kin, and not for pay. Every wrench, glove, and boot gets burned or buried under a ton of dirt and stone. If a man says he's sore for no reason, or he's walking stiff, they pull him from the line and set him aside, no questions. It's better to waste a healthy day's work than to risk more Coilmen spreading. And the rigs themselves? Whether they're steel towers out in the water or rust-red pump jacks rocking in the fields, they don't just get scrubbed, they get gutted. Weld seams ground out, pipes replaced, every beam sandblasted till bare. Then they sit abandoned for a year, weathering down till the wind and rain have scored them clean. But as well as that may be, The Coilman syndrome ain't so much contained as it is kept pinned off like a rabid dog. You don't cure it. You just keep it far enough away that you can sleep without wondering if your muscles are about to turn on you in the dark.
You take from the earth takes from you. Black gold, black gold. Under the wheel, twist the bodies like the twisted steel. Black gold, black gold. Don't make a sound, the earth will swallow what it's found.
If you ever take a job on the rigs, don't matter if it's out in the Gulf, on a pump jack in the plains, or working a derrick by the river, listen to me close. You keep your eyes on your crew. The minute a man starts moving careful, the minute his step gets slow and measured, like he's walking on glass, you send him home. And you don't let him finish the shift. And you don't let him climb. And if you feel it yourself, that pull in your muscles, that ache that ain't quite pain but feels like something settling in, you get off the metal and you get away from that rig and you don't look back. Because once Coilman syndrome gets his hooks in you, there ain't no straightening out. You'll lock where you stand, twist it into whatever shape it chooses, and that's how they'll find you hours later, days later, sometimes longer. I'm Archivist Nixon. So take this for what it is. Not a story, a warning. And if you hear the rigs creaking on a still night, and it sounds a little too much like a man struggling to breathe, you walk the other way, and you keep walking till that sound is gone, or you are.